Beneath the waves, USS Albacore, with one of the most successful and daring American submarine crews, stalked the Massive Taiho Japanese Carrier. It was the summer of 1944, and Japan believed they had one last shot at destroying the American Pacific Fleet before the Imperial Japanese Navy was utterly overwhelmed. They had new potent aircraft like the A6M Zero Model 52 and powerful cutting-edge carriers that, if used decisively, could help turn the tables. One of their aces in this long-shot gamble was the Taiho, an aircraft carrier unlike any other, equipped with a unique armored deck that made her near impervious to bombs, torpedoes, or shells. Commanding this ultimate flagship, Japan aimed to destroy the American Navy in the Battle of the Philippine Sea. Taiho unleashed a swarm of warplanes into the skies as the battle erupted. The jewel of the Japanese Navy was within their grasp. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Just as Albacore aligned for a perfect hit, the unexpected happened. The submarine's torpedo data computer started giving false information. Unable to accurately target Taiho, she was about to slip through Albacore's fingers. Lieutenant Commander James W. Blanchard was not about to let that happen. Known for doing whatever it took to get the job done, he and his crew were ready to improvise. Blanchard ordered his men to fire a broad fan of 6 torpedoes, hoping at least one would find its mark. In 1942, USS Albacore plunged into the Pacific, led by Lieutenant Commander Richard C. Lake, destined to become an unstoppable force of nature. Commissioned on June 1, 1942, this Gato-class submarine swiftly joined the ranks of the silent service, ready to take on the Japanese Navy with unparalleled aggression. On her first war patrol in the fall of 1942, USS Albacore was tasked with disrupting enemy shipping lanes around Truk, a crucial Japanese stronghold. The crew, a mix of seasoned submariners and eager newcomers, operated with steely determination, quickly earning a reputation as a deadly crew. The tension was palpable as they approached Japanese-controlled waters. Every sonar ping and radar blip was scrutinized as they scoured the waters for their prey. They soon pinpointed an ideal target, a heavily escorted Japanese convoy. Despite the risk of detection and the threat of depth charges, Lake skillfully maneuvered the submarine into an advantageous firing position. In the darkness of night, Albacore unleashed a spread of torpedoes. The silence was shattered by the thunderous explosion as one of the torpedoes struck the leading enemy transport ship. A second torpedo found its mark, but the Japanese vessel managed to continue sailing despite the damage. However, the Albacore had shown her teeth. Throughout the remainder of 1942, USS Albacore continued her patrols with unyielding tenacity. Engaging in several skirmishes, the submarine sank additional enemy vessels, showcasing her crew's strategic prowess and bravery. The most notable success during her first patrol occurred on October 9, 1942. Albacore sighted a heavy cruiser and a destroyer escorting a Shokaku-class aircraft carrier. Sinking one of these aircraft-carrying titans was the most prized feat for any submarine crew. As they prepared to strike, Albacore was discovered. A fierce barrage of depth charges ensued. One after another, the attacks from the escort ships left Lake and his crew navigating through a maze of underwater destruction. Still, Albacore managed to evade and survive. Albacore returned to Midway Island on October 20, 1942, to conclude her first patrol and undergo refit for a new mission. In 1943, USS Albacore continued carving a path of destruction through enemy waters, cementing her already fearsome reputation. Albacore set out from Brisbane on January 20, 1943, for her third war patrol, tasked with patrolling the perilous waters off New Guinea. A month into the patrol, on February 20th, they spotted a group of Japanese warships slicing through the waves, including a destroyer and a frigate. The crew moved with silent precision, their eyes steely and nerves taut. Albacore's torpedo tubes loomed ominously, loaded and ready. With a command that cut through the tense silence, 10 torpedoes were released. The underwater projectiles sped toward their targets, leaving trails of bubbles in their wake. Moments later, the sea erupted in chaos. Explosions ripped through the water, sending towering plumes of spray skyward. The Japanese destroyer Oshio shuddered under the impact, her hull breached and tearing apart as flames and smoke poured from her wounds. Amidst the violent din of retaliatory fire, Albacore weaved and evaded the crew's skill and coordination, crucial in the life-or-death ballet. As Oshio began to sink beneath the waves, Albacore's crew allowed themselves a moment of grim satisfaction. After a mostly uneventful fourth patrol, now with Lieutenant Commander Oscar Emil Hagberg at the helm, Albacore embarked on her fifth war patrol on June 16, 1943. she patrolled the Bismarck and Solomon Islands, hunting Japanese vessels with a renewed fervor. On July 19th, Albacore engaged a Japanese transport but failed to sink it. Despite the frustration of missed opportunities, the crew's morale remained unbroken as they navigated the treacherous waters. Undeterred, Albacore set sail again on August 23, 1943, targeting the same treacherous waters as her previous patrol. On September 4th, she struck gold, successfully torpedoing and sinking the Japanese auxiliary gunboat Heijo-Maru, southwest of Ponape, Caroline Islands. The next day, Albacore damaged the Japanese transport ship Hokusho-Maru with 2 torpedoes that, unfortunately, turned out to be duds. Albacore's 7th War Patrol began on October 12, 1943. By November 8th, while shadowing a convoy off New Ireland, an American bomber misidentified her as an enemy vessel and launched a ferocious attack. The bomber's payload rained down, inflicting significant damage, but the resilient Albacore refused to sink. The crew, battered but unbroken, worked tirelessly to keep her afloat and continue their mission. 4 days later, on November 12th, new orders came through. Finish off the crippled Japanese light cruiser Agano. Albacore found the cruiser, but before they could strike, the escort ships detected them. For 4 grueling hours, Albacore endured a relentless depth charge barrage. The ocean around them roared with explosions, and the intense pressure shook the submarine to its core. Yet the crew held their nerve, evading the barrage and slipping away into the depths. On November 25th, Albacore's perseverance paid off. Northeast of Manus, they encountered the Japanese army transport Kenzen-Maru. This time, Albacore struck with deadly precision, torpedoes slicing through the water and slamming into the transport. The explosions tore Kenzen-Maru apart, sending it swiftly beneath the waves. By December 5th, 1943, Albacore returned to Brisbane, her 7th patrol completed. Throughout the year, the crew faced extraordinary challenges, navigating the deadly waters of the Pacific with exemplary determination. Each patrol solidified Albacore's reputation as one of the most lethal submarines in the United States Navy's silent service. Albacore departed Mare Island on May 5, 1944, and conducted training exercises with USS Shad on the way to Hawaii. She reached Pearl Harbor on May 13th, where she underwent final repairs and training. On May 29th, Albacore embarked on her 9th patrol, now under the command of James W. Blanchard, targeting waters west of the Mariana Islands and around the Palau Islands. Days into her patrol, she encountered a Japanese convoy on June 11th, but before she could position herself for an attack, the Japanese aircraft forced her to dive, losing the convoy. On the morning of June 13, 1944, the Japanese carrier Taiho set sail from Tawi-Tawi in the Sulu archipelago, leading a powerful task force towards a crucial showdown in the Philippine Sea. This was Japan's last chance to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet amid a series of devastating defeats. The goal was to halt the advancing United States Navy and maintain control over the Mariana Islands, a critical launch point for attacks on Japan. Taiho, the newest and most advanced carrier in the Imperial Japanese Navy, led a fleet that included the seasoned carriers Shokaku and Zuikaku, veterans of the Pearl Harbor attack, along with several other carriers. They were to confront the superior U.S. Navy forces, which included 15 fleet carriers supported by battleships like USS Iowa and New Jersey, along with a powerful array of cruisers and destroyers. As the two mighty fleets converged, the stage was set for a massive carrier battle. Meanwhile, lurking beneath the waves, USS Albacore was poised to strike at the heart of the Japanese fleet. On the morning of June 18th, 2 days after American forces began landing on Saipan, Albacore moved 100 miles further south from her position west of the Mariana Islands. Admiral Charles A. Lockwood ordered this repositioning to intercept a Japanese task force under Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa, reportedly steaming from Tawi-Tawi towards Saipan. Around 8 a.m. the following day, Albacore raised her periscope and found herself amidst Ozawa's leading carrier group. Blanchard let one Japanese carrier pass by and selected a second for his target. It was almost too perfect to be true. Having survived numerous depth charge attacks in the past, it was remarkable that Albacore could be undetected in the middle of the Japanese fleet. Albacore prepared to strike the massive carrier. As they closed to 5,300 yards, the submarine's torpedo data computers started failing, outputting inaccurate targeting information. Albacore's luck seemed to be running out, so close to success, yet hampered by a faulty computer. In a bid to maximize any chances of a hit, Blanchard unleashed all of his 6 bow tubes at the same time. With precision, Albacore's crew released a fan of torpedoes toward Taiho. Realizing the imminent threat, the carrier began a desperate series of evasive maneuvers. Warrant Officer Sakio Komatsu, piloting a Judy dive bomber, witnessed the other American torpedoes streaking towards his ship and made a split-second decision. In a heroic act of sacrifice, he dove his aircraft into the lead torpedo, detonating it prematurely and saving Taiho from one of the lethal blows. However, the remaining torpedoes continued their path. Although Taiho managed to evade most, one torpedo struck her side, sealing her fate as she began a slow descent to the ocean's depths. In a split second, 3 Japanese destroyers rushed against Albacore. While the submarine desperately tried to submerge, her crew heard one solid torpedo explosion. At about that same time, 25 depth charges began raining down on the submarine. Then Blanchard heard, quote, a distant and persistent explosion of great force, followed by another. In the wake of the torpedo's assault, Captain Kaku Tomeo of Taiho held firm in his belief that no single strike could doom a carrier shielded by layers of steel and resolve. Convinced the damage was but a scratch on Taiho's mighty frame, and with her speed barely faltering and the flight deck unmarred, he steered the carrier back into the fray. However, the torpedo's blast had torn more than just metal. It had opened the gates to disaster. Aviation fuel, mingling with seawater and fuel oil, began to seep into the forward elevator pit, crafting a volatile brew that was grossly underestimated by the crew. Now filled with the noxious fumes of aviation gasoline, the ship's interior awaited only a spark. In a bid to purge these vapors, the crew engaged ventilation systems and flung open hatches, actions that served only to spread the lethal fumes further through the carrier's innards. A catastrophic oversight followed, transforming Taiho into a powder keg on the brink. Roughly 6.5 hours post-strike, a colossal explosion tore through Taiho, swiftly followed by another earth-shattering detonation. These blasts sealed the carrier's doom, dragging her with 1,650 of her crew beneath the waves. Due to the delayed effect of the torpedo strike, Albacore's crew had no idea they had just detonated one of Japan's most prized warships. Albacore had become a legend, earning 9 battle stars and a Presidential Unit Citation for her service. She was credited with taking down 13 Japanese ships, including the formidable Taiho, and damaging another 5. She held the record for striking the highest warship tonnage of any U.S. submarine. After pulling off the impossible and surviving some of the Pacific's most savage battles, Albacore and her crew's luck finally ran dry in October 1944. She steamed out of Pearl Harbor on October 24th, topped off her fuel tanks at Midway Island on October 28th, and was never heard from again. By December 21st, Albacore was presumed lost with all hands, and her name was stricken from the Naval Vessel Register on March 30th, 1945. Japanese records seized after the war revealed that a submarine believed to be Albacore struck a naval mine near the shore off northeastern Hokkaido on November 7, 1944. A Japanese patrol boat witnessed the cataclysmic detonation of a submerged vessel and saw oil, cork, bedding, and food supplies burst to the surface. On May 25, 2022, a Japanese team from the University of Tokyo launched a search for Albacore's wreck off Hokkaido, 7 kilometers east of Hakodate. On May 26, 2022, the team deployed a remote-controlled submarine drone to photograph the wreck, capturing an eerie image of the bridge and periscope of a submarine with the same characteristics as the Albacore. By February 16, 2023, the Naval History and Heritage Command confirmed the wreck's identity as Albacore, based on documented modifications made to her before the final patrol. The site remains a solemn war grave for the valiant crew of one of America's most triumphant submarines of World War II.